Denver Nuggets. They are very young, so I think that plays a role in it. They have a lot of upside, but they're back up big with Mason Plumlee, Will Barton, some guys that have been solid guys on other teams. Have taken the role of coming off the bench for the Nuggets with Millsap coming in and Jokic, obviously. They just have a lot of depth, in my opinion, and I would have to go with the Nuggets.
Yeah, you guys see that Malone and Jokic both got thrown out of the play-in last night. The head coach of the Denver Nuggets and Jokic got thrown out of that game. The coach actually came out and bumped the referee, and then Jokic was essentially spitting in his face, and so you don't normally see that out of Jokic. But Mike Malone is a pretty fiery head coach, and that's a good take, EK. I think I've been a little bit disappointed with Jamal Murray's production. He's had some.
Got hot the other night.
Yeah,
he did get hot the other night.
His last 3 games, I know 2 of them, he's put up 28 points and maybe like 30-some the other night. So,
yeah.
He's gotten that hot hand recently.
I forgot to ask this question, and then we'll close out with one more, talking about the kind of the Pacers segment that we do. How's the fantasy front going with your guys' teams right now? What did it look like this past week? Of course, today's Monday when we're recording this podcast, so we just got done with a full fantasy week. How did it wrap up for you all?
I had a really close matchup with Auk this past week. I know it was 756 to 757,
Ooh.
and he had Alex Lynn and
That was the final?
No.
Oh, okay.
And he had Robin Lopez, and I had Julius Randle, but both of those guys were in the fourth quarter, and Randle was in the first. Luckily, Randle had a very well performance of like 22 points. So
nice.
Yeah. So.
Al? Oh, go ahead, Colt. Sorry.
My fantasy team has actually been playing well. Luckily, I've had James Harden when he's went off for 48, and whatever he had the last couple times went nuts. Spencer Dinwiddie, I actually picked him up off the bench because D'Angelo Russell went down for me, so he's sitting on my IR.
Using him kind of as a handicap.
Yeah, but I'll take 17, 35, and 20 from someone like him.
As would I.
So I'm still pretty pleased with my team so far. Had some injuries, too, like Steven Adams has been out for a little bit, but he's coming back now. So, but my team is still performing.
I'm sitting at 4-1. I'm second in my division behind EK. We're really close. He's got 3,674 total points. I've got 3,631. He beat me head-to-head, but had some injuries that week, so I'd love to play him again fully healthy. But, it's basketball, so there's always going to be guys banged up. But, having LeBron on your fantasy team, as long as he's not taking a night off for rest, you're going to be in pretty much any matchup because he's going to go nuts. And I think I've got my bench kind of figured out, and with D'Lo going down, Spencer Dinwiddie was a big pick. I've got him in a different league than the one Colt's talking about. So I like to shape my teams in. I'm playing you tonight this week, Luke, and banged up with injuries again, so could take another L this week just with how many people are going to miss. But if I can get healthy, I'm going to like my team down the stretch.
Yeah, I was playing Kyle Stidham last week. Going into Sunday, I'm down 40, ended up winning by 15 points. I didn't check my phone because I didn't want to look at my fantasy score for the whole night. I told myself I'm not going to look until I know all games are over. Checked it, and I'm up 15, and I was very satisfied with that. I didn't think I was going to come away with the win. The kind of like what you were talking about, Eric, not Randall, of course, but Ingram was huge for me, and Caldwell Pope actually was a big player in me winning by 15. I'm playing Al this week, improved to 4-1, just as Al. We're in different divisions, but Al and I at 4-1. That's got to be probably the best matchup in our league right now. I predict the forecast to be to side on Alex's side. I think Alec will come away with the win this week. He'll improve to 5-1 and me to 4-2
between us here in this matchup.
Yeah,
picking together to win.
I do think you'll win with LeBron, and Boogie seems to be not killing it as he was the first 3 weeks. All right, that's our fantasy segment, and of course we're always going to close with talking about our favorite team, the Indiana Pacers, that we've improved to 9-8. Got a game tonight in Orlando, I believe it is, and so. What do you guys take in the last week and a half of Indiana Pacers basketball?
The Heat game was crazy. I mean, they just put a team away in the third quarter. I mean, they just took the life out of Miami, and Deion Waiters didn't make a shot. They really D'd him up really well, and you just see, they started at the end of the first half when, Miles hits a three, and then Thad steals the inbounds pass and knocks in a jump shot. He's just been so consistent. He's second in the NBA in deflections, and are they going to make a run in the playoffs? No, but they're going to be a fun team to watch. They're going to compete night in and night out. They're going to play hard 82 nights this season, and that's something that not a lot of NBA teams do. Even the contenders. Seen it in years past where Golden State, the year they win 73 games, they lose to the Lakers. Like, everybody takes nights off, and you're not going to see that out of this Pacers team. So they're going to play hard every night, and they're going to beat some teams they probably shouldn't, and they're going to lose to some teams as well. But last week and a half, they're coming back off a tough stretch there, lost a couple games and bounced back, and a young team, Miles Turner, kind of back doing his thing, and that was, I won't throw any shade at anybody on this podcast, but we're requesting him to be benched, and then he comes out and does what he did against Miami, and you can't bench your future. So
Yeah. You mentioned the playoffs, Alan. I just wanted to ask you specifically, and what do you think we, as the Pacers, sneak in there in the playoffs towards the end of the year? I know we talked about a little bit earlier in the podcast about how the East has been pretty productive.
I don't want to cop out, but I think at this point it's way too early to tell. There's so many teams sitting around 500, and who knows what trades are going to be made. Yeah. Who knows who's going to get hurt. Mm-hmm. We're just a few weeks into the season. Could they, if there are no trades made and everybody stays healthy? Yes, but that's not going to be what happens come the end of the season. Yeah. Some team's going to lose a key piece, and some team's going to pick somebody up via trade. So in a perfect world, if things stay as they are, I do think the Pacers could, just because of how hard they play, but I think it's too early to tell whether or not they're going to make the playoffs.
Colt, man, what do you think about the Pacers?
I've been pleased with their performance. They're 4 out of 5 in their last 5 games, which that loss coming to the Rockets, which that is pretty foreseen in my opinion. Mm-hmm. But I mean, they beat the Pistons, which the Pistons have been performing above and beyond what I thought they'd do. They beat the Grizzlies at Memphis. I know Mike Conley didn't play, but still to go to Memphis and play still a solid team is a good win in my book. So, and they came back from the Pistons. I forget how much they were down, but that's 22. An encouraging win. The way Lance played in the fourth quarter, and definitely playing very hard against the Heat and getting that win in Miami. So, I like where we're at right now, and I think it can continue tonight. So,
yeah, I know from talking to a lot of dads, they actually enjoy watching the Pacers, unlike prior years, simply because it would just be the Paul George show where. Let's give it to him, play one-on-one basketball, whereas this year the Pacers actually play team basketball. It's like that young, we're not playing the one-on-one basketball anymore. We're actually passing the ball, just so unselfish. I'm always making that extra pass, and I've been very blown away by Bojan Bogdanovic, posting several 20-point games this season. Would have never expected that. I was very disappointed to see he was getting the starting role ahead of Glenn Robinson before he got hurt. But he's blown me away by not being miserable on defense and just being very unselfish. And, I mean, all of our team knows our role. So, again, just a very enjoyable team to watch. Like Al says, we're not going to be a contender, although I would like to think so. But we will play teams hard every night. And I would honestly rather have that than watch the Pacers win one game, lose one game, win one game, lose.
Yeah,
and quick shout out to Lance. He's getting it figured out.
Lance I would agree. Lance is definitely getting it figured out. Had 13 and 8 last game. Pretty much took over the fourth quarter. I would agree with you guys. Eric, I would agree. Alec, I would agree. Colt. I wanted us to be a contender this season. I knew that was kind of unrealistic, but Victor Oladipo, 12th in points overall right now. Like, are you kidding me? I'm not quite sure where Paul George is, and I'm not always comparing him to Paul George, but guys, and this comes from a person that I lived by every breath that Paul George breathed
PG's
back
19.
in the last PG's 19th in scoring.
16.
Thank you, Al. And so. Okay, so Oladipo's dropped to 16th. That's my fault. He was 12th just yesterday, 2 days ago. yeah, I loved Paul George and I loved his time here. But man, the Pacers are fun to watch. It's a team that I can get behind. I think it's teams that dads, like you said, parents care about because they're playing Indiana basketball. Of course, we grow basketball here with the cornfields and also basketball, I guess. But closing up with the Ninth Man podcast, we appreciate you listening. Colt, Alec, Eric, and I, we love doing this. We this is something we relish in, getting the opportunity to do a podcast, talk Indiana Pacers, talk basketball in general. We know that you're going to listen to other people before us, but we'd love for you to continue to listen to us. If you can, subscribe to the YouTube page here, and you can always find us on YouTube at the Ninth Man podcast. I probably should have said that at the beginning of the podcast. Thank you for listening.